Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my site softer?
Can I make my site firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. Enjoy personalized comfort for better sleep night after night. It's our Black Friday sale. Recharge this season with a bundle of cozy, soothing comfort. Now only $17.99 for our C2 mattress and base, plus free premium delivery. Prices higher in Alaska and Hawaii. Check it out at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com today.
Hi, it's Sarah. I'm the founder of Olive & June, and can I tell you the one thing that always makes my day better? A fresh manicure. But who has the time or the money to go to the salon every week? That's why we created the Olive & June Gel Mani System. It gives you that same mani that you get at a salon for so much less. It comes with everything you need, a pro-level lamp, salon-grade tools, our damage-free gel polish that lasts up to 21 days. All you do is prep, paint, cure, and you're good to go. And the best part, it's super easy and so affordable. Each mani breaks down to $2. So let's skip that $80 salon appointment and get the salon quality look at home for so much less and on your schedule. Head to oliveandjune.com/ManiMagic20 and use code ManiMagic20 for 20% off your first gel system. That's oliveandjune.com/ManiMagic20, code ManiMagic20 for 20% off your first gel mani system.
Welcome back to Dating Intentionally. I'm Talia. I'm sharing no-nonsense advice for navigating dating and relationships with confidence and ease, whether you've been dating for a while or you're just getting started. I believe dating can be fun. And today's conversation was a blast. I'm joined by someone who has been challenging how we think about love and dating for over a decade. Her name is Francesca Hogi. She is a love coach, a writer, and the host of the Dear Franny podcast. She's also the founder of the True Love Society and author of the best-selling book, How to Find True Love, Unlock Your Romantic Flow, and Create Lasting Relationships. Before dedicating her career to helping people build fulfilling relationships, which you're going to hear all about, she was a lawyer and she also competed on Survivor twice. In today's conversation, Francesca and I dig deep into what it takes to thrive in today's dating culture and what skills you need to make it work today. We also talk about how flirting has evolved and why so many people feel blocked around it. Like maybe you're one of those people that's like, I have no idea how to flirt. We're going to get into it. We talk about how to rediscover that playful, confident side of yourself that makes flirting feel fun and realistic. This was a super inspiring conversation. And as always, I love to hear from you. So if you have any thoughts, questions, comments on this episode, you can DM me on Instagram at dating.intentionally. Please drop comments on Spotify or YouTube if you're watching there, and shoot me an email at datingintentionallypod@gmail.com if you don't have, Instagram or YouTube or whatever. So there are lots of ways to get in touch. I love hearing from you. Without further ado, let's get to it. Welcome, Francesca, to the Dating Intentionally podcast. I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me, Talia.
Yeah, when I stumbled across your Instagram and your work, I was like, I have to have Francesca on the show. Your story is fascinating. Can you just let us know, what do you do and why? Why are you here?
I love this. That's a great way of asking me to tell my story. So how I started, what do I do? Well, what I do now is I help people with romantic love. So I used to be a matchmaker. Before that, I was a corporate lawyer. We'll get into that in a moment. But currently, I help people to be their own matchmaker. So I coach them to get really clear on what it is that they're looking for in a relationship, but also what they really need in a relationship and how to date in a way that's in alignment with the love that they are seeking. And my journey to this place started many, many years ago when I was a little romantic kid, dreaming of growing up one day and falling in love and having all these great romantic experiences. And the problem that I hadn't anticipated is that once I was actually an adult and I was out in the world, I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know how to date. I want to have this great relationship, but I literally do not know. I don't even know how to get into a relationship, much less a great one. And so I found myself as a young lawyer just embarking on this journey to teach myself how to date and to figure out how to actually have the love that I wanted. And There was a lot of trial and error. But I learned so much along the way. And I eventually started a dating advice blog, back when I was still practicing law, because I just saw so many people struggling with the things that I had struggled with. And I was like,
Yeah.
wait, it doesn't have to be this hard. And so that was the start. And then, lots of other things happened. But eventually I wound up discovering that matchmaking was a real profession, and that I went to a matchmaking conference and I met all of these matchmakers who were just regular people whose job it was to help other people find love. And I was like, what could be more rewarding than that? So I
Yeah.
went to matchmaking school and I became a matchmaker, and that was 13 years ago. And here we are now.
That's amazing. I love your story so much. It also just like this has nothing to do with dating, but I love hearing stories where it's like the path isn't like the cookie cutter path. And it's like you can just make these twists and turns and zigzags and like all make sense to you, and that's all that matters. And you're doing like
Yes.
what you're aligned with what you're doing and your strengths and like what you're how you're serving people and you're having fun. And I just love seeing that. I just think it's so cool.
Thank you. Thank you. And I do like to tell people because, I mean, romantic love is my primary focus in my work, but I do also help people with career and pivoting and just general, like, how do I live a
Yeah.
life that's more fulfilling, that's more aligned with who I am? And I always like to point out to people that when I made the decision to pivot from corporate law to matchmaking, this was not a thing. People were not lining up like, yes, you should do this. This is a great idea. Like, everyone was kind of like, okay, well, if that's what you want to do, And so I think, and it kind of actually parallels so many people's romantic love journey too, which is, there's pivots, you make decisions, you go different directions, and maybe people are going, well, why did you end that relationship? Or why aren't you married yet? Or why did you do this or do that? And it's like, following your own heart is just something that we all need to really embrace if we want to live lives that are truly in alignment with who we are.
Yes, so well said. So, okay, I'm so curious. Like you said, you didn't know how to date. And I just think it is really interesting because I hear this a lot from people I work with, like, I don't know how to do this. My like just kind of question in my mind is like, do we expect people to, when we're like in high school age, like sit down and teach us how to do it? Like I guess like there's like sometimes a cultural code we're supposed to follow, but now it kind of seems all over the place.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's just like my thought while you were sharing your story. But my question is like, if you had to go back to your college, like you're kind of the I don't know how to date version of yourself.
Yeah.
How would you tell her how to date?
Well, number one, I would tell her to stop being so scared. I would tell myself to stop overthinking it so much because, and it's one of those things. I mean, look, this was a long time ago, and so I can intellectually remember, but there's also a part of me that's like, yeah, why did this feel so hard? Like, why was it, such this like Everest of what do I do and how do I, but I think it was just a lot of overthinking and the point you just made about like culture and where do we learn these things? I think if we were to go back 50 years to any culture in the world and we asked a young person, like, what is like your romantic life supposed to look like? How does that happen? Like, how do I think everyone would have an answer because we
Yeah,
had much more, the expectations were a lot clearer, for better or
right,
for worse. I'm not saying I
right,
want to
right.
go back to
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, we're also familiar with Victorian England, courting styles because of Jane Austen and all the things,
Yep.
Bridgerton and all the things. And it's like no one in that age, like you might have had difficulty finding a partner, but you knew what was expected of you, right?
Yeah.
And and I think that's just one example of how we have historically, like there have been rules and expectations, and now that's all out the window, and we're rewriting the rules. And I think so for my younger self, I would have just said, like, listen, this is something you need to feel your way through, but, have fun with it. Don't overthink it. Like, just, stop saying no to the boys that are asking you out on dates. Like, just say yes.
I mean, I
Stop putting
think
people up on a pedestal who aren't available. It was like a lot of that stuff. You deal with this every
yeah.
day.
No, and I think like what is the scary part is like when you reach that age of let's say the high school age or whatever, like your late teens, early 20s, at that point you've probably experienced relationships with your family and your friends, teachers, maybe other people like who are guiding you in your life, but you may not have experienced the type of relationship and attachment that comes with a romantic partner. And I think that's a scary part. It's the unknown. It's
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
what is this supposed to look like and feel like? You don't know until you're in it. Really.
Yeah, you don't know. You don't know. And then there's this, and then I think there's also this pressure. Maybe now it's a little bit different, but I think there was also this pressure that I felt like, well, if I date somebody, I'm supposed to be like, it's just supposed to be somebody that I can marry one day. And how do I know if like there's just so much pressure rather than just
Yeah.
like, oh, wait, this is a process. This is a journey. This is how you even discover the kind of person that you want to marry and what's most important to you in a relationship and how to show up as that partner that, that co-creates the kind of like there all the things that, that now I'm like always beating the drum of, love is a journey, dating is a journey, and it's an important one. And it's a journey that gives you the opportunity to learn so many skills that are going to serve you in your relationships going forward, and
Yeah.
that it has its own value. It doesn't have to be like, oh my God, I have to meet somebody and fall in love. And if I don't, then I failed.
I'm so with you on that. So, okay, speaking of skills, what are some skills you think that daters need today to thrive in our dating culture today, which, as you said, is kind of a mess
Yeah.
because we're rewriting the rules. It's like that messy change phase
Yes.
where it's like no one
Yeah.
really, the dust hasn't settled yet on whatever this is.
Yeah.
But what are the skills that we need to thrive?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So many, but I'm going to just give the three main ones that I think cover the basics. So, number one is perspective. And perspective on like what we're talking about. Like, okay, there's a larger landscape here that's confusing. So I'm going to just kind of embrace that uncertainty, and I'm not going to put the pressure on myself that that maybe I have in the past. I'm going to like recognize this is something that, this is unfolding, right? I'm learning, culture is shifting, figuring it out. And also that perspective and just, being able to find the meaning in what you've been through.
Hmm.
Because anybody who has been dating and putting themselves out there for any amount of time, like you've had disappointment, you've had painful experiences, you know what is lots of things haven't worked out, right, in various ways. And it's really easy to feel like, well, nothing's going to work out, or I'm doomed, or no one wants relationships anymore, or all, men are this, or all women are that, or all people are that,
Yeah.
versus understanding like, okay, what can I learn from that experience? So I don't have to have that exact same experience, and the next one can be better. So that
Yeah.
all takes perspective and taking a little bit of a step back and saying like, okay, all right, what's going on here? What, what's going on that's great? What's going on that's not? Like, what do I want to have more of going forward? And that is something that is a skill. That's just,
Yes.
so that's number one. Number two is flirting. I mean, I really want to put flirting as number one.
Okay. Yeah, sure. We could do that. Flirting is the first
But I
one.
really
Yeah.
think that like the mindset perspective piece is just so important as a
Yeah.
foundational piece. But flirting is the way that I think of flirting is it's really how you put your intention for connection into physical action, right?
Oh,
And flirting is an amazing, amazing skill practice. It's a great opportunity to make another person feel seen, special, and acknowledged. And then you can layer on top of that desired and desirable, but just
right.
foundationally, this is about, hey, I see you and I recognize like there's something cool about you, intriguing about you, sexy about you, interesting about you. And I'm just, like you're just sharing that moment of connection. And
Yeah.
there's so much pressure that gets put on us around flirting, and people think it looks like, it's a come on and you're trying to pick somebody up and it's got to be, overtly sexual, and it's like, no, 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 like you can do all that, but like that's not even what I'm talking about. Like I'm just talking about how do you actually show up in a way where you're like, okay, I'm going to see what kind of connection I can co-create with this person, and just being really intentional about that. So I really love
Yeah.
flirting. I could talk about that for an hour,
Well,
so I
and
won't.
we will get into it more. We will come back to that. What's the third one?
And then the third one is discernment. And this is really, 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 I mean, not that this was never not important,
Yeah.
but it's really more
Today
important.
specifically, it is really
Yes.
important. Yeah.
It's more important than ever. And I mean discernment on every level. I mean discernment in terms of if you're on an app, and you're connecting with people that way. Like, what are you prioritizing? What are the things that you're getting excited about? And then maybe you're overlooking other things. And what are the things that you are maybe judging too harshly? And so now you're focusing on something that doesn't matter so much. And you're, kind of dating in a same pattern because you think that that's, like there's so many
Yeah.
things, right?
Right.
Discernment of like when you're actually getting to know someone, you're actually dating someone. What is this person's character, right? Like, is this person really showing up as their true selves? Do I feel seen by this person? Just like literally just, it's kind of like perspective.
Yeah, I was gonna say these two really go hand in hand.
They really
Yeah.
do. They really do. And it's a mix of EQ and IQ. So part of it is like, okay, what is like literally what is this person saying to me? Like what, logically, like what does this all mean? But also there's that feeling and that emotional piece of it. And these are skills that we can practice and we can get better at. But the perspective absolutely helps with the discernment.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got perspective, flirting, and discernment. Can you just unpack the EQ versus IQ discernment a little bit more? Like you're saying emotional versus the What I love about doing this show is that I get to introduce listeners to all these different ways to get support in their dating journeys. And one of the main ways is therapy. You've probably heard me talk about how working with a therapist for the last 7 or 8 years has helped me improve not just my romantic relationship, but my friendships and my family relationships too. The hard part is finding a therapist that actually works with your insurance. Having done it a few times, I can tell you from experience, it's harder than it sounds. That's why I'm so excited to partner with Rula, a healthcare company that makes getting quality therapy simple and affordable. Rula works with most major insurance plans, and sessions can cost as little as $15, sometimes even $0, depending on your coverage. This is huge. If you've ever worked with a therapist, you know sometimes the cost can be astronomical, and I love that Rula makes it easier on your wallet. Finding a therapist on your own can be overwhelming, but Rula supports you every step of the way, helping you find the right therapist, stay consistent, and actually make progress. They have a network of over 15,000 licensed therapists and psychiatrists across the country, and they'll match you with someone who fits your needs and preferences. You can start meeting with your therapist as soon as the next day. Thousands have already trusted Rula to support them on their journey toward improved mental health and overall well being. Head over to rula.com/dating intentionally to get started today. After you sign up, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them our show sent you. Go to rula.com/dating intentionally and take the first step towards better mental health today. You deserve quality care from someone who cares. One question I get asked a lot about my dating journey is how did you manage to go on 150 dates in a year? Part of it is because I was determined to master dating, and the other part of it, well, it's because I am really big into routines. I don't know who I am without my routines. They keep me on track with everything from having relationship check ins with my husband to getting to the gym 4 times a week to making sure I always have delicious meals ready to go in the fridge. And something I recently added to my routine that I'm so excited about is AG1. AG1 is a daily health drink clinically shown to fill in common nutrient gaps. I've been adding a scoop into my protein shakes every day, and I love having a little boost of nutrients that I know I might not be getting otherwise, especially as we head into the holiday season when our schedules get thrown off and routines pretty much go out the window. It's great to have an easy way to support your body and prioritize wellness, even with this season's chaos. I've been using AG1's original flavor, which tastes like pineapple and vanilla, in my daily shake, and it's so good. I love that it helps me cover the bases with what my body needs, and with AG1, it's just so easy to do. If you're looking to boost your wellness routine, I recommend checking out AG1. Head to drinkag1.com/dating to get a free welcome kit with an AG1 flavor sampler and a bottle of vitamin D3 plus K2 when you first subscribe. That's drinkag1.com/dating. Intelligence, like, right? Is that what you mean by
Yeah.
EQ, IQ? Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
like, do you think that some people, it's like we're stronger in one area than another? Like, how does that show up? I don't know. How can we tell
Yes.
if we have this discernment?
Yeah. I mean, I think we can tell by looking at what our relationships look like and what they look like
Mm,
historically, right? So, you can see, oh, maybe I'm really good at choosing partners who are, responsible or mature or, ambitious or hardworking, but maybe I'm not so good at choosing partners who have emotional availability,
Right.
right? Or
Right.
who, or who can show up consistently. Like, so a lot of it is just really, you have to kind of just be a bit of a, they need to work with you or they need to work with me if they can't do
Yeah.
this on their own, right? Which is like kind of becoming a bit more of a detective and,
Hmm.
having a little bit more like, okay, maybe this is a place where I need to have a little bit more discernment. And maybe this is a place where maybe my discernment skills are great. And so I can kind of put that off to the side, right?
Or I'm overly discerning.
Or in
Yeah.
where is my discernment gone
Turning
into
in.
now turn into a pickiness that is not even based in reality.
Right. Right.
So there's a lot of like, even the EQ and the IQ starts with how much can I tell myself the truth and allow
Mm.
myself to feel my feelings, right? And not judge myself for
Mm.
how I feel.
It's
And
hard. It's so much to
it's
juggle. It's you
hard.
have to hold all these things at once. And you have
Yeah.
to like look at them with neutrality and not and curiosity and not make it mean something bigger, like wrap it into a story. It's really
Yeah.
hard.
It is hard. It's hard, but it can be done. And luckily, we don't have to be perfect. Like I'm always reminding people, I'm like, this is not about perfection. This is not like you have all the answers and you never, you do everything perfectly. Like that's not what life is about. That's not what relationships about. We still get to be human. We still get to be messy. We still get to like, make mistakes and course correct and, have to say I'm sorry or have to say to yourself, like, wow, I really did sell myself short there. I have to be
Yeah.
honest with myself, right? If I want better, I have to do better. I have to have a higher standard, going forward. So I think one of the things, going back to your question of like, what would I have told myself, like my college age self, one of the things that I would have said is just like, just have a kinder relationship with yourself.
Mm. Love that advice. Yeah.
Like, just figure out how to have a nicer conversation with yourself, even about the things that are hard, right? So
Yeah.
rather than what's wrong with me and why am I the only person who, doesn't have a boyfriend, or why am I the only person who isn't dating, or why am I the only person who fill in the blank,
Yeah.
rather than just be like, okay, well, first of all, how much am I just judging myself based on other comparison that's not even a lot, like if I at the age of 22, like I did not want to get married.
No,
You know
right.
what I mean? Like that was not something that I actually wanted to do, but was there a part of me that felt like, oh wait, I'm a grown up now. I'm supposed to be like getting married. Shouldn't I be meeting somebody to get married? But how do I do that? I can't even get a date. Like just calm down.
Yes. I always say like let it play out. Like
Let it play
and
out.
yeah. And lately I've been telling people like you're writing your love story right now, even if you haven't found them yet. Like this is a chapter of
Yes,
it right now. Like this
absolutely.
moment. Yeah.
This
You
moment.
listening to the
So
show is a chapter.
it is a chapter. I say the same thing, which is just like, if you are alive, you have a love life. Okay.
Oh,
Like
I love that.
it does not
Yes.
matter if you've never been in a relationship. It doesn't matter if you are not actively dating, you still have a love life. And if you can embrace that, this again, back to perspective, and you can embrace that and you can embrace a journey, and every journey has chapters, right? And so you can say, all right, maybe this chapter, this has been a
Yeah.
long chapter and I'm ready for a new one. Okay. So now all right, let's start a new page,
I love
but
it.
the judgment that is so easy to place on ourselves around where we think that we should be romantically. I mean, and this, and obviously, we work with single people and that's the focus, but, even people in relationships, people who are married, they're still judging themselves, right?
Yep.
And they're still comparing themselves to other couples. And so it's something that we give ourselves by practicing these skills. And I think this is one of the beautiful things about being single at this time. Yes, there's a lot of challenges, but also you really do get to write your own love story in a way that in the past you would not have had the opportunity to.
Yes. I always say dating is a privilege.
It
We
is a
get to
privilege.
do this. We can choose to not
Yes.
do it and still be able to survive, which
Yeah.
is not was not the case for a lot of for women, like at
No, it
all.
wasn't. Not at all. Not at all,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
yeah, like if you were and it certainly wasn't the case for women, but even for men, like it's
Yeah.
not like most men were like, "Ah, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna find the love of my life, and I'm no, like you had, there were
Yeah.
expectations, and the way that we have made it as humans for millennia up until really about 100 years ago is when dating started to become
Right.
more of a like okay, more of a mainstream thing. But even 100 years ago, like in 1925, dating was still stigmatized because
Mm,
the idea that you were just going to be like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to go and meet people, and I'm going to
yeah.
put like that
My
wasn't.
no, my family is gonna find someone for me. I'm gonna find them myself. Like
Yes,
that's yeah.
exactly. And if I meet somebody, it's going to be chaperoned, and there's
Hmm.
only a certain pool of people that I get to choose from because of my culture, my class, my
Yeah,
religion, all of the
everything.
things. So it is a privilege that we get to choose. And with
Yes.
that privilege and with that power comes the responsibility.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of culture today, I usually save this question for the end, but I know you have a lot of thoughts on this. So, what are some changes you want to see in our dating culture today?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm glad we didn't leave this to the end.
Yeah, you're like, how much time do we have? Just a couple of things, like the big things were like, I need this to change.
Yeah. Well, I need one thing that I really, 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 really would love is for people to break their dependency on dating apps.
Mm,
And the reason is not just because, look, obviously there are people in wonderful relationships who've met their partners on apps, see, right? It absolutely happens, but it also happens less and less and less and less than it used to. And I'm old enough to remember because when I when I went on my like I need to teach myself how to date experiment, like I went on Match.com, this is way before apps. And back then there you had to have a lot of intention to put yourself in that position because, it was stigmatized and you did have to write this whole profile and you did have to like put
yeah,
yourself out there in a way that felt really vulnerable and no one was doing that for entertainment.
right.
you know
But today it's like, you're
but
right. It is like kind
today
of a scrolling, who's out
yeah
there? Can I get
now
attention and validation? Yeah.
yes, exactly. So now it's like swiping. I call this like swiping into the void, where, I mean, and I'm sure you've seen this. Like you see some people when they're swiping and they're just going, like it is so fast. I'm like, how is
Yeah.
your brain even registering
It's not.
anything?
It's not registering. Okay, so
So I
you
think
want to
that's a
see
big
less
part of
reliance
what's
on apps. Yeah.
yeah, because I think that it's not just I mean, number one, it's the reliance. So many people feel like that's the only way that they can meet someone. And I think that's just giving the apps too much power. And so I think that, one change that I would like to see is just more of a normalization of like, I'm going to meet people in person. So whether it's events, more third spaces, more people looking out for their friends, more people like, making introductions. Like I think, if like more people need to just look out for each other because,
Yeah.
we've gone from, okay, everybody in the community has an opinion about who you should marry, maybe that was too much to like now it's like good luck
Yeah, right. You're on
like
your own. Yeah.
you're on your own and it's just like that's just way too extreme. So I would love to see more people being invested in the
Yeah.
love lives of the people that they care about and support each other through that. And I think, again, I think the conversation about dating and relationships needs to have more perspective. So I wish that culturally there was more of like, okay, everybody, let's do a little reset here.
So you're kind of like wanting a reset in a way. What would the reset do?
Well, I mean, I really have given this a lot of thought, and I
Yeah, no, I
really
know.
feel
That's why I'm
like
asking.
I
Yeah.
really feel like first of all, it needs to start with we need to start a new dating subculture
Okay.
because you can't just expect everyone in the world to be like, okay, now I'm going to be really intentional, and now I'm going to be really, like
Of course.
that's not going to happen. But I really think just as if you're somebody who's like, okay, I want to learn more financial literacy. I want to figure out how to, learn this new skill. Like that you can do that. Like there's resources for that,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
like people have a path. But when it comes to dating and relationships, there really isn't that. It's just like, good luck, like go out, good luck and hope you meet somebody. And, if you don't, too
Yeah.
bad. Right.
Right.
So I think that there needs to be a group, a large enough, like, mass of people who were like, okay, we want to date in a way that feels better, right? That isn't just about like, okay, I just need to meet somebody, but it is about like, okay, what are the skills that I'm learning? What am I bringing to the table? How can I be like the co-creator? Because, every relationship is a co-creation.
Right.
When
Yes.
you come together with another person, you are creating something that has never existed before.
That's beautiful to think about.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so just being like, okay, wait, I'm always half the equation. Yes, you are. Right. So
Yeah.
this subculture needs to be less focused on like this idea of like, you're the perfect person. And now I get to, now I get love, to be like, okay, it's not about perfection. It's about what is the intention? What are the skills? How much am I willing to actually like treat this as something that is truly important because it is?
Yes.
And rather than expecting it to just be like magically easy and no effort, be like, okay, there is effort, but I want to make sure that like I'm efforting with people who are on the same page as me.
I love that you're saying this, and I have a thought. I think that there is this subculture, it's growing, but it's all mixed in with everyone else. And I think this is something I advocate for a lot on my show. It's just like, if you show up the way you're hoping someone will show up for you, it's kind of like you're going to notice who is not on that level at all. You're going to attract people who are also on that same wavelength. Like, you're going to notice, like, that's why I always say, like, if you're interested, to show interest. The person who is also on that level will be receptive to that and reciprocate. The person who's not ready for that and isn't serious won't react very positively. I don't know how they'll react, but not very positively to that. Like, it's not going to work. So it's
totally
hard.
agree.
That's why I was like,
Yeah.
that's why I always say you have to act like you're intentionally dating at all times, and then use that perspective and discernment to notice what the other person's doing and
Yeah.
see if they're on your level.
I agree with everything you just said. And I think that the point is such an important one, that everybody's mixed in.
Yeah.
And that goes back to like this subculture idea.
Yeah.
It's like, because it is, and I even see this in my work, because I've been doing this for long enough that I remember when Tinder launched,
Yep.
12 years ago, whatever. And and 12 years ago, it was the shift from the like dating website era.
Right. So now it's actually on your phone. I remember, like, I used to go on OkCupid on my phone, in my web browser on my phone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right,
That's like what I was
exactly, 'cause
doing
that's how
before
it
they had
used
an app.
to be, right? Right. And oh, by the way, OkCupid was great. I think it's still around, but
Yeah.
OkCupid was great because they asked you all those questions, and you had to really, and you could really see like,
I
okay,
know, I miss
who is
it. It was
putting-
good.
Who is putting in the effort to like answer all these questions, to like put together a real profile? And so it used to be so much easier. And this is part of the reason why I know I'm like, things have gotten way, 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 way worse, is because, when I worked with clients 10 years ago, it was, I don't want to say it was like super easy for them to be successful online with apps, but like you could do it. Like, if you were really like, okay, I'm intentional, I'm going to put the time in, I'm going to show up, just like you said, I'm going to show up like, if I'm interested, I'm going to show interest. I'm like, and it worked a lot more easily because there were more people who were on that same page. Whereas now the pool is so diluted with people who are not serious, that are totally waste. I was looking at, I've been doing all this research on apps lately, and so many apps in their features, when like you go to like their website or you go to like the, app store or whatever, one of the things that they tout is how quick it is to set up your profile.
Yes. I was
And
just
I'm
thinking,
like-
it's like they made it easy and they made us lazy. Like,
It made us lazy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it shouldn't be like the feature. This is what you're like, oh, you can have a live profile in 1 minute. I'm like, that is not enough time.
no, right. It should take 10 minutes at least.
It should
30
take
minutes.
some time.
Like, yeah.
It should take you an hour. I mean, it probably, like, back in the OkCupid days, right? I mean, I answered probably 200 of those questions.
Yes, I remember the questions. They were so fun.
They were great questions, right?
Yeah.
I think we need to raise the bar in this new dating subculture. We need to raise the bar to entry, because then you're at least weeding out the people who have no intention other than to entertain themselves and waste your time.
How can my listeners like take what you just said, but apply it just to their own little silo of a dating life, which I know you don't want siloed, you want community, but like, in terms of like, yeah, like what's your advice for that? Because I agree, but it's like the person listening will be like, well, I can't change this, and that's hard. It's one of the more frustrating parts about being human. It's like, you want to see all these changes, but you're just one person.
Yeah.
So it's like, what do you think?
Yeah. Well, I think that you're not the only one. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the one thing, right? It's not, it might feel like you're the only one, but I promise you, you're not the only one. And so I think it's not just to say, oh, well, until there's this new place I can go, I just got to suck it up. I mean, it's like, yes, but also make sure that you are doing your part, right? Because that's
Yeah.
always going to matter. And also make sure that you are just recognizing, yeah, there are a lot of people here who are not serious. And so rather than letting that be something that demoralizes you and gets you down and makes you feel pessimistic, just accept it and don't, and just move on, right?
Yeah.
And like there is an emotional resilience that is necessary for life, for dating, for relationships. And if you're single and you're looking like this is a time to start cultivating that skill, right?
Yes.
So I think that people need to do what they can, but also like, what haven't you tried, right? Maybe you have
Hmm.
only been looking at the apps, but what happens? What about the world around you? What about,
Yeah.
have you ever asked a friend for a setup? Do you feel comfortable flirting? I mean, a lot of times people will say to me, "Oh, I never meet anyone organically," and I'm like, okay, well, if you were later today to be, I don't know, in a coffee shop, at an airport, at an event, and you saw somebody that looked interesting to you, intriguing to you, what would you do? And I would say that the majority of the time they'd be like, well, I wouldn't do anything, or I would hope that they come talk to me, or maybe I would try to catch their eye. And, but like, so I'm like, okay, well, let's work on a strategy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So the next time you're in a situation like that, you actually do know what to do, right? And
Yeah.
so just encouraging people to be like a little bit more bold, a little bit more courageous. Like, yeah, maybe you do need to start that conversation. Maybe, yeah, you do want to go position yourself closer to that person and, and say hello. Maybe you do want to give a compliment, a sincere one, right? Like, because that could be a conversation starter. Maybe you just want to put your phone down and keep your eyes up.
Yes. Well, okay. I want to pause here and pose a question to the listeners. Share in the comments on YouTube or Spotify. What would you do? Really, be honest. What would you do if you saw someone interesting or intriguing to you like today? Like, how would that interaction go? Let us know in the comments. I'm really curious to hear everyone's answers on this. So you can comment if you're watching on Spotify or YouTube. And okay, we're getting a little bit more into flirting because I have a lot of questions on this because I feel like you have a lot of tips for us. So for the person who's like, I suck at flirting, I have no idea how to do it, where are we starting?
Yeah. So first, we're starting with a new definition of flirting,
Okay.
which is just, I mentioned it already, but words and actions with the intention of making another person feel seen, special, and acknowledged. All three.
I love that definition. I've also thought that flirting is an extra layer of special attention. You're really looking at someone, you're holding their eye contact a little bit longer, you're maybe getting in close proximity, like within comfort if you're hopefully reading cues properly,
Yes, please read the room.
yes, like read the room, but like you are giving them just a little extra, like a sprinkle of attention.
Yeah, exactly. And here actually is a big thing because sometimes it is somebody that you are like, ooh, that person is like, maybe you already know that you're interested, and maybe you don't know that you're interested. But another thing about flirting when you approach it this way, where it's not a come on, it's not a promise of anything. It's not about sexual innuendo. It's not about picking them up. It's just like, okay, can I create a moment of connection with this person? Because sometimes, even if it's somebody who maybe you were initially like, you weren't attracted to them or you didn't know, like, but once you actually make that effort, if they can receive it and then they can return it, it just feels good.
Yes. I want to hear what you think of this. And listeners, I'm curious what you think of this, but like I go to the gym a lot. And when guys talk to me, obviously I'm married. I'm not looking to make connections and flirt. But when a guy does approach me, I try my best to not shut them down or be like really nice because I want to encourage this more.
Yes,
Like a guy,
totally.
okay,
I'm the
I
same
was
way, by
stretching.
the way.
Yeah. Like I was stretching a few weeks ago and I was working out at the gym with my dad. My dad was like not too far away from me and a guy was like, "Oh, that's a great stretch." Like I don't know, he just like made a comment and we like had a little back and forth. I could tell he was flirting with me. Like I was done with my stretching, so I got up and he said, "Have a good one." He winked at me. It was like actually a nice, I felt good about that. I was like, that's a nice interaction. I'm glad I didn't shut that down. But that's what it is. It's just like he just made a comment about something I was doing and I was receptive. Again, I'm not looking to flirt, but you know what I mean? I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I recognize what's happening and I don't want to be that woman who makes this guy never do it again.
Oh my gosh, I'm exactly the same way. If somebody actually like takes the time to come and talk to me and try to have that moment of connection with me, I'm also not single, and so I'm not looking, but I'm kind to them because I'm like, this is what we need. I'm like, I don't want them to be like,
Yes.
well, I'm never gonna talk to another straight. Like, no,
Exactly.
keep going. Just I'm not the one, but keep going.
I think also it's like this could, like people listening, you can do this. Even if someone comes up to you to start a conversation and you're not attracted to them or you're just not like interested, still be kind and respectful and nice, assuming they are being respectful too.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
like you can kind of pay it forward in that way.
I totally agree because a lot of it is just, and there's lots of different styles of flirting. And,
Okay.
I mean, I have a whole chapter in my book about flirting because I have so much to say about it.
What's your style?
Well, my favorite style of flirting is what I call attentiveness.
Okay.
And so that's really just like leaning in, eye contact, asking questions that you really care about the answer to, things that really, when this is what I used to do. This is kind of embarrassing, but
Let's
it
hear
worked
it.
for me.
No judgment.
So the last time that I was single and I was, online, I would always ask a question as my first message, right? Because just, hello is not a great first message. Okay. Even how are you? It's okay, but it's a little
You could do
boring,
better.
right? You
Yeah.
could do better, right? And so because recognizing I'm like, these are a lot of boring conversations. How can I make this more interesting for myself? So I would I would start with a hypothetical question. And my favorite question to ask was, would you rather have your own private plane or your own private island? It is
That's a
a
great
random question.
question. I love it.
But let me tell you why this question was such a great question. Because, first of all, some guys would be like, why are you asking? Which, if that's your response,
Oh my God.
this is just, it's not a match, right? And then others, which is great because it's like this is serving. I'm like, okay, great.
Yeah.
Like, that's actually, I weeded somebody out on something because if you can't roll with me
Play.
and
Yeah,
like
just
play and just
we're
like
here to
have a
just
fun,
talk.
like then we're not gonna like I'm not even gonna bother going on a date with you, right? But then so many other guys would say like, oh, I would definitely choose island because that way, all of my friends and all my family we would always have a place where we could always go, we could always gather. Or, oh, I would definitely choose plane because then I could do and it's like there's no wrong answer, right? I'm not giving you a plane or an island. But it would be like something that actually would learn something about them, about what they valued, like
Yeah.
just in a
It's
very casual way.
I also want to highlight something so key that you said, which is that you made it fun for yourself. I hear a lot of people complaining. It's like, oh, these conversations are so boring. I'm so bored on
Yes.
first dates. It's like, no, you need to create the fun. You need to bring the fun. They're not there to entertain you. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I say the same thing. I'm like, why? They're like, oh, it's so boring. I'm like, you're not boring. Why are you having a boring conversation? Just
Yeah.
because they are trying to have a boring conversation, you don't have to participate. You can
Yeah.
pivot the conversation, make it fun, make it interesting.
For you, at the very least.
For you at the very least, at
Yeah.
the very least, right? And so I'm just a fan of like, okay, what can you do to shake it up, right? To have an unexpected moment. And even, I mean, I remember, I don't think she was flirting with me. I think I don't know why she asked me this, but I appreciated it. I was in a coffee shop and there was a woman at the table next to me and she was like, can I ask you a question? I'm like, yeah, you can.
Yeah.
And
Right.
she asked me, she said, would you rather be a mountain or a river?
Love it.
And I was like, well, I'd definitely rather be a river because then I get to go places and whatever. And she was like, yeah, that's a good point. And that was it. That was our conversation.
I love
right?
that. I just, yeah, I mean, to your point, I think like, yes, I want to see a world where we're more open to just having these like one-off interactions, these micro connections that you never really know where it could go. You could have gone into the whole deep conversation with that random person in the coffee shop about this stuff if you both were wanting to do that or whatever, or it just could have just been this one back and forth and that's fine. Also, I really appreciate your redefining of flirting to make it a lot broader because it's not just the like what we see on TV or like this like kind of campy version of flirting you see in media. And it's like, no, it truly is just that attentiveness and like a connection and really just again, like a sprinkle of attention.
It's just a sprinkle of attention. And, a compliment is a great way, especially if, I talk a lot about having what I call the meet cute mindset. So,
Oh, what's that?
So, so the meet cute for your listeners who may not know this term, the meet cute is the moment in the love story when the love interests meet for the first time, right? So every romantic comedy, the moment that they meet the first time, it's always memorable. That's the thing, you're like, oh, now how are they going to fall in love, right? Um, and and that is the most realistic part about romantic comedies, which is that like, yeah,
True.
you are going to meet someone in an unexpected way. And maybe it's going to be like, ooh, a spark at first sight. And maybe it's going to be like, bleh at first sight or, but I think that just having that mindset of like, yeah, you know what, as I move through the world, like I have the potential to meet someone. Like every time you leave your house, you have the potential to meet someone special, right?
Yeah.
So if you can embrace that mindset, then, well, how does that change how you might show up so that you can encourage that possibility, right? So does that mean now that you're going to be on your phone less? Does that mean now that you're going to, be more courageous and like make eye contact or smile or say hi or be like, wow, those are really cool shoes, or like, just something to just have a moment of connection that can potentially blossom into more.
I want to play devil's advocate for 1 second. I agree with
Yeah.
you, but like,
Yes.
'cause I can think of the person who's like, I'm going to be in the meet cute mindset. I'm going to listen to Francesca's advice, and then they go out and they don't run into anyone, or they don't actually have anything, or they do actually try to talk someone and they get ignored, which happens to me, by the way, a lot. So
Oh,
like,
yeah, me too. I say hi to
yeah,
people
yeah.
all the time
And
they
they
just
just
keep
like
on
don't,
going.
yeah. So how do you deal with that? Of like, oh, I set myself up for this meet cute mindset, and I'm coming home deflated.
Yeah, well, I think if you put the pressure on yourself, like, okay, I'm going to go out today and I'm going to meet someone, then you're putting a lot of pressure. So
Hmm.
it's more like the point is not that every single day you're going to, you're going to meet somebody and you're going to fall in love every day, or you're going to, meet somebody at the supermarket every time you go there that you go on a date with. But if you do really embrace just connection for connection's sake, I mean, it's like, like that woman in the coffee shop, like she didn't seem to want to continue the conversation. She was kind of like, oh, okay, that was interesting.
It was
Thanks,
just her
And
thought
then
that,
like,
that you got to be there for that.
but like I got
Yeah.
to be there. And if she had wanted to, I'm totally a person who will have a 10-20 minute conversation with a stranger in a coffee shop if I'm in the mood for that. And I'm like, oh, this is a cool, interesting person. And sometimes I'm like, yeah, okay, great. Have a nice day. Right. And
That
so
was it.
we can't take it so personally. It's
Yeah.
more of just like, okay, how can I embrace more of the perspective, right? Again, that like there are people all around me. And, just like not everybody's going to be your best friend. Obviously, not everybody is going to be your romantic partner, but that doesn't mean that there isn't value in you just being a person who moves through the world with that intention and that openness to connection. Because it's not going to happen every day, but it will happen,
Yeah, it
and
will.
it absolutely will happen. And especially if you like give people compliments, like I'm telling you, all of my flirting advice is gender neutral, but I will say, and I do to women who date men, okay, men never get compliments.
Yep. I say this all the time. Yep.
If you give a guy a compliment, like you are at the very least, you're going to make his day, maybe his whole week.
Maybe his ear.
Maybe his year. And like he could be gay, he could be married. It doesn't, the point is not that like every time you do it, it's going to convert into like now I get to date this person. The point is that you are showing yourself, you are courting serendipity, and eventually you will connect.
Yes. I love that. It's great advice. So I have another question. Okay, what about the other way of like someone who can't, I was like, I don't know who's flirting with me. What are the signs someone is flirting with you? Because I think some people are scared they're gonna miss it, or they don't want to assume they're like when someone's just being friendly that they're actually flirting. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Well, I think I'm definitely a little different in this way. But I always, when people say this, because I hear this all the time, I don't know if they're flirting with me. I'm like, well, I mean, okay, like you said, let it play out. But also, like, but are you interested? Because if you're
Mm,
interested, just flirt with them. Like, it doesn't,
right.
like, it's not just about what they're doing. What do you want to do? Right. Like,
Yeah.
if you're like, oh, wow, now, I mean, like, if I had been romantically interested in that woman in the coffee shop, maybe she wasn't necessarily flirting with me, but I could be like, oh, well, now this is an opening that I can like maybe have more of a conversation here. Right. And so
Right, right,
I
right,
would
right.
focus less on trying to mind read somebody else's intentions and just decide like, well, how do I feel about this interaction?
Yeah.
and just see how it plays out.
It's great advice. I love that because I think it's like, are you more scared of rejection? Are you
Yeah.
more scared of missing out?
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
if you turn up the flirting just a little bit and to see what happens, and then you get to see their reaction. If they suddenly seem closed off, that wasn't the vibe, and that's
Yeah.
okay.
And
That's
that's
okay.
okay. And that's
Yeah, you'll
okay.
live.
That's why it's a skill though, right? Because it's like
Right.
you're feeling it out. And sometimes you're like, I mean, there have been times where I totally got that wrong. Like I was like, oh, I'm gonna make this happen. And then I'm like, okay, no, I'm not. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
sometimes it doesn't, it's okay. It's okay. And that goes back to the resilience and that goes back to like just the perspective of like, okay, I'm having a moment of connection with this person. Let me just embrace it and see where it goes and see how it feels to me.
Yeah, yeah. I love that advice. Well, Francesca, this has been amazing. I mean, I just feel like I could talk to you forever. Before we wrap this up, I do have a dating dilemma to share with
Oh,
you from a
yes.
listener. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So we're both going to share advice on this. I am a 31-year-old female starting to date again after a big heartbreak. My ex was wonderful in many ways, but also has substance abuse problems and major jealousy. I didn't know how bad it was until we were already deep into commitment and in love and never want to get into that situation again. I realize you can always break up with someone, but it's so much harder when you feel like you want to support them through their issues. It's not easy to directly ask about these issues like you could if they want kids or not. So, do you have any tips on how to figure out if someone might be an alcoholic or always think that you're cheating? What indirect questions could I ask in early dating? Thanks so much.
Ooh, goodness.
I know this is tough. I relate to this one because I also briefly dated someone who was an alcoholic and I discovered this very slowly and it was really, really, really tough and I had to walk away. From then on, I was on edge. I was like looking for
Yeah.
signs and I did
Yeah.
run into this. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, I ran into it too. Actually, this is a pattern that I had
Really.
where I had two, maybe three guys that I dated like significantly who were what I would describe as high functioning alcoholics.
Hmm.
So, very successful. Their lives were very together.
Yep.
So you
Same
would
for what
you
I
would feel
experienced.
like, oh my God, this guy's got it all together. And so I had to have a real come to Jesus because after it happened a couple times, I was like, okay.
Yeah. This keeps happening.
I'm like, this isn't happening to everyone. You could see, I was like, okay, everybody has a pattern and this appears to be mine. And it was really confusing to me because like, I'm not even a big drinker,
Right.
and
Well, they do it in secret. And
right.
it's like,
And
yeah.
so I'm not a big drinker, my parents didn't drink, so I'm
Mhm.
like, where did this come from? And so I had to realize that for me, what I think I was attracted to in these particular men was that they were emotionally aware, but they could only go but so deep.
Interesting. Okay. So you
And
learned that was a sign potentially.
that was a sign. And I learned that that was a match for me because I also was emotionally aware, but I could only go so deep. Right. And
Wow.
so
Okay.
their protective mechanism was to drink, and my protective mechanism was to withdraw and do whatever other dysfunctional things that I do. So I had to recognize like, okay, if I want to date a different kind of person, then I actually have to show up differently because I actually have to be more vulnerable and see who can meet me there versus
Yeah.
who's just like, ah. So I don't think, back to your listener, you can't ask a question like, so tell me about your relationship with alcohol. Because if somebody is has a problematic relationship with alcohol and their lives are still together, they know how to mask it, hide it, be in denial about
Yeah.
it. So asking is not really going to help you. I would more pay attention to like those other things because again, it's not a question, it's behavior that you have to observe, right?
Mm,
So if you do go out to dinner and you do have a drink, do they have four?
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Do they seem like they want to keep drinking and you're like maybe they're pushing you to drink, just there's like little things that you can notice because I mean, I can say in the case of my guys, it's not like I don't even think they drank in secret necessarily. It was just that when they did drink, once they started, it was
They
hard for
just,
them to stop.
yeah.
Right. And so paying attention to that. And then the jealousy, I mean, I think you just have to pay attention. Okay, is this person truly secure within themselves?
Mm,
Am I assuming that they should be confident? Because I think that's another thing we do. Like, oh, this person can't be insecure. They're this, they're that. They're so great. They've got all this going for them. No, that has nothing to do. Reality has nothing to do with our insecurities.
right. Oh my
Right.
God. So true. That's so true.
So I think just paying attention to like, who seems truly secure within themselves. Jealousy, I think, is something you can tell very quickly because they're gonna say something. There's gonna be those signs, but you can't just ask somebody, so are you jealous? I mean, you could, but
Yeah, I'm
it's
with you. I think it's behavioral stuff. I think it's recognizing the bigger picture of their emotional intelligence, like, or emotional depth,
yeah,
vulnerability, and security.
yeah,
Because, yeah, people handle their insecurities, fears, and all those things in different ways. And some of those ways happen to be substance abuse, which
yeah,
really sucks. So I think it is, yeah. But then also, like, to your point, if you want to attract someone who is emotionally available and secure, you have to work on that too.
yeah, you do. You do.
Yeah.
And learn from what you've been through, right? Like, what
Right.
were those signs? Because I'm sure you can go back and you say, oh, you know what? Actually, it was actually our third date when he made his first comment that kind of tingled my spidey sense about some jealousy, but I overlooked it, right?
Right.
Or like, yeah, he did seem a little, maybe he said something like, oh, well, I would never let my girlfriend do that because, and you're like, oh,
Right.
wait, hold on. Wait, you never what? Like you got to
Yeah.
just really pay attention to what people, this is the balance between the EQ and the IQ, the discernment, because
Hmm.
you might be like, oh my gosh, like we have this great connection and I like this person so much. And so you're now not paying attention to the
Right.
clues and all the things because you're so emotionally attached and you want it to work out. Yeah, I think that just cultivating the faith within yourself that you can
Yeah.
figure it out and you can see the signs is something that's really important. And reflecting on what you might have overlooked is going to be helpful going forward.
So true. You got to trust your gut. I mean, yeah, with in the situations I've been in, the first guy mentioned, like, I remember on our third date, he was like, I'm working on my relationship with alcohol. And I was like, I don't really know what that means, but I'm saving that comment for later.
Right.
Because I had never had that experience before. And I will say, like, as I worked on my own self-security, becoming my own secure base, it was really clear who was insecure, like the guys I was
Oh,
dating. It was so clear. And it wasn't just drinking, it was like the way they texted or the way they were acting if I didn't text them or it just certain things would come up. Yeah, so the more you work on yourself, I think you're right, the easier it is to spot these things. That's great advice. Francesca, this has been so amazing. I appreciate you coming on so much. And where
oh.
can people find you?
I'm easy to find. I am at Dear Franny on all the places. No longer have a podcast. I just released the
I
final episode
saw.
of my podcast, Dear Franny. But I'm Dear Franny on all social, also my website, francescahogi.com. And Dear Franny does still exist. There's 140 past
Yeah, go
episodes. People
listen.
are welcome to listen to. And I hope they enjoy. Yeah. And I have my book, How to Find True Love, which is available wherever you get your books or audiobooks.
Yes, we'll link it all in the show notes. And again, I appreciate you so much.
Thank you, Talia. This has been great.
So, what did you think? Tell me what your biggest takeaway was. You can drop a comment below if you're listening on Spotify, or you can shoot me a DM on Instagram. Again, I love hearing what you think of these episodes. Personally, I loved what Francesca had to say about the skills we need to thrive in dating. That to me was so impactful. The skill set that is required today is different than what our parents and grandparents had to have. That's why I don't think it's good to compare, how it was back then to how it is now. It's just so different. And there are so many challenges we face in dating today that didn't exist decades ago. But as Francesca and I talked about, we both hope it continues to evolve, and we both hope all the intentional daters find each other. I really think we're in this moment where it feels harder and messy in dating because it's changing and evolving so much. Change is rarely clean and it's not easy to navigate. But I hope you found what Francesca had to say helpful and that you feel inspired. I certainly did. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks for trusting me. Don't forget, you're doing great. If you know someone who is navigating dating and could use a confidence boost or a fresh perspective, share this episode with them. And if this podcast has helped you, a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify goes a long way. Once again, I'm Talia. This is Dating Intentionally, and I'll catch you next time.